Hello, it's Gary Jordan with the Jordan Property Group, brokered by eXp Realty. We're live today with a real good friend of mine and a real professional, Lynton Mare. Lynton Mare, I'll let you tell your own story, but he'll tell you why he is a real professional. One thing he's a former professional rugby player from South Africa, first generation immigrant to the great United States. And Lynton, welcome today. Appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time and inviting me on the show.
Now, Linton is also a mortgage professional, and he'll tell you a little bit about that also in a few minutes. But Linton, first of all, just tell about your background, your story,
Mm.
South Africa, family, and your rugby career, and what got you to the United States.
Yeah, no. Born and raised in Pretoria, South Africa. So lived there for what was it, a little over 22 years. I immigrated to the US in 2015, and I can honestly say it was the best decision that I've ever made in my life. I originally came over as a professional rugby player, so played professional up in Denver for a couple of years, and yeah, it was just an incredible journey. Met some amazing people up there as well.
Now, what was it that made you decide to immigrate to leave your home country and come to America?
Yeah, so I mean, just growing up in South Africa, we live in a third world country over there, and so at school we learn a lot about the first world countries out there. Especially with the United States being one of the world leading countries out there, and so it's always been a massive dream of mine. Even just back then when I was in high school, just growing up, just to come visit, right? So I mean, this is just such an incredible country, and I mean, just to be here now. You know, I've even told so many people that if you had asked me 10 years ago and told me, you know what, Linton, in a couple of years' time, you're going to be a citizen of the United States of America, I would have laughed at you. I would definitely not have ever thought that that was a reality or possibility for me. So I got my green card through my stepfather, who was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. So him and my mother had met in South Africa. They were working actually on the same project over there, and they got married. And through the grace of God, I just qualified for a green card. And I mean, in all honesty, when I had gotten that green card opportunity, it was a no-brainer for me, right? So I mean, I've always wanted to plan my life in 10, 15, even 20-year intervals. So when I had this opportunity, it was such an easy decision for me to come over.
Well, good. Now, about your family, do you have siblings in South Africa or
I do. So I've got two older brothers. So unfortunately, they weren't able to qualify for a green card. So how it works is any child under the age of 18 automatically qualifies for a green card. So when my mom got married to my stepfather, she obviously has four children, and then so I've got three other brothers, and so my youngest brother and I, we were under the ages of 18, so we automatically qualified for a green card.
Okay, interesting. So when you came to America, I guess your first gig was being a professional rugby player. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So I lived in Warrensburg, Missouri for a couple of months. The original plan was for me to go and try and do American football as well, and so really tried hard for that, and just trained very very hard for that. So, but the thing was, during that tenure, what had happened is rugby actually turned professional for the first time during the couple of months that I was in Missouri. So for me, it was a no-brainer because I started playing rugby when I was 5 years old, right? So it's what I grew up with. I mean, the love I have for the game is just incredible. And so Denver had a team, and so I reached out to one of the coaches, and I'm not even kidding you. A couple of days later, I was there.
Is that right? Okay. How did you compare the level of rugby in Denver versus your homeland of South Africa?
No, look, I mean, it would be the same, thing if I could say, how could you compare American football in South Africa versus over here, right? I mean, American football's really non-existent in South Africa. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the sport you grow up with, right? So if you don't grow up with the sport from a very young age, yes, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to learn the sport, right? So, but that being said as well, I mean, in the US, you've got such incredible athletes, just naturally gifted athletes, and it's really easy for them just to adapt to the game. So, and the other thing in South Africa is rugby. You can basically say it's almost like a religion, you know. So I always make a joke of it. If you meet a girl for the first time and things get serious, and now you meet her dad for the first time, and he asks you the question, "Do you play rugby, young man?" And if you tell him no, he sends you away. You
I
know,
meant I
so
meant I meant to ask you about
yeah.
comparing American rugby to South African rugby. And I said football by mistake.
Right, right. No, no. So I mean, yeah. So it's definitely it's different because again, rugby in South Africa, it's our main sport, right? It's the sport that as South Africans we thrive in the best. And I would say American football, the NFL over here, is the sport that is probably the most popular in the country over here, right? So
Yes.
yes, so if American players, if I had to play against American players, yes, the quality wouldn't quite be as high as the highest level in South Africa. But that being said, the quality of rugby in the United States is it's still incredible, and I mean the athletes are just amazing. I don't know if you know this, but actually in 2032, a couple of years from now, the US will actually be hosting the Rugby World Cup. So it happens
Okay.
every 4 years. So I'm definitely very excited for that.
Didn't realize that. Now being a professional, let's kind of tie in this as a flow to being a professional athlete, playing rugby and so forth, to being a professional in business, whether
Mhm.
that be you're a professional handyman, whether you're a professional real estate agent, or whether you're a professional mortgage professional,
Yeah.
mortgage loan originator or manager. You've been the professional route being an athlete. Talk to me about what you go through on a regular basis to be on that highest level as an athlete, to be able to be considered a professional rugby player. What was your daily routine to be able to compete and
Right.
stay at that level?
No, I mean that's actually a very, very good question. So I mean, as a professional athlete, I mean anyone out there that knows that plays at that level or is actually even trying to get to that level, I mean it just takes tremendous amount of grit, right? And a never say die attitude. I mean that is probably the most important mindset that you need to have, and you just need to tell yourself, I'm not going to quit. So I mean, one of the most important quotes that I actually live by is it goes like this: I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. Right. So that is something that's really stood by me from my youth days into just growing up into an adult. Right. So, I mean, on a typical day for me as a professional athlete, we would train between 3 to 4 times a day, right? If we're not training, we're eating. We're in the kitchen making food and just getting some rest, trying to recover for the next training session, right? So on a typical day, you would eat roughly 8 to 10,000 calories because you burn so much while you're training. Because sometimes you do 2 gym sessions a day, and then sometimes you'll do 2 field sessions a day as well. So which is a mixture of full on contact, right? I mean, we would just tackle the living daylights out of each other at practice and so forth. Because the other thing is, you have teammates and you've got competition, right? So let's say you're in the starting lineup, there's someone else breathing behind your neck looking to take your place, right? So you can't take your foot off the pedal under no circumstance. You have to be better tomorrow than what you were today, for example.
I love that statement. I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. If we all took that as our mantra, we'd all be a lot more successful in our business than we typically are. No doubt about that.
No, absolutely.
So, what made you make the change from being a professional athlete, rugby player,
Yeah.
to getting in the mortgage industry?
Yeah, that's funny. I'll probably have to say my wife was the reason.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, so we did roughly 5.5 years long distance when she was living in South Africa. I was living over here, and so yeah, I just got to a point where I just realized that at Linton, it's time to start wearing the big boy pants, and so I had to really just go earn money, should I say. I mean, rugby is not a very, very popular sport in the US just yet. I would probably say give it about another 10, 15 years. And I mean, the salaries would really, really drastically increase to what they are right now, or the contracts, should I say. So, I just had to be in a position that I knew I had to make more money. And so the other thing was just, it was also very important for me to show my wife's father that I could take care of her financially, right? That was
Sure.
something that was incredibly important to me, because as any father, as any parent, if someone takes your child to another country, for example, I mean, it's a big deal. You know what I mean? So especially for her father to have blessed, my blessed our marriage, and me asking his permission to marry his daughter, and his only daughter. So that was a very big deal. So I had to make some big decisions at a young age. I mean, I probably still have another easily 6 years in me if I wanted to go play rugby again, for example. But that was a big aspect of it too. So I started working in corporate America around about 2016. So I was actually working in corporate America and playing professionally at the same time. So it was a lot on my plate during that time, and but I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything. I learned so much during that time, and met such incredible people, and it just taught me so many valuable life lessons that I can just take on forever.
That's great. It reminds me of a mentor I have in real estate, Brian Buffini. He was
Mm,
telling a story about he was interviewing his wife at the time, interviewing her grandfather before they got married. When he was
mm,
asking for her hand, and grandfather had him out in a fishing boat in some remote lake one day. Just him and the grandpa. And grandpa
yeah.
wasn't talking. This is getting kind of scary, kind of eerie. And the grandfather said, "Well, son, if we don't take care of the finance, there'll usually be an ambulance." And
Love it.
I never forgot that for sure. Well, listen, being a professional athlete,
Yeah,
discipline. I'm
yeah.
a big fan of discipline. I've been an athlete myself, a
Right.
lot lower level than you for sure.
Mm,
But I've been a business owner and an entrepreneur for all my life, so I know that discipline is so important and is so rare
right.
in today's uh, business society. It seems like.
Right.
What are some of your thoughts about the word discipline?
No, I mean, discipline is probably the most important, term out there when it comes to you succeeding in whatever you're doing, whether that's in business, whether that's personally, just anything. Being the best father, possible, or being the best husband to your wife. Literally, I mean, that word can literally fit into any aspect of your life. So, I mean, still to this day, I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, and I'm in the gym at about 4:45. Right. So I train for roughly 2 hours every day, Monday to Saturday. And a lot of people ask me, how are you motivated to wake up that early every single morning? Like when you're not a professional, even not a professional athlete anymore, for example, right? Or when there's a blizzard outside, when it's -5 degrees or 5 degrees outside. I simply just tell them, there's a big difference between the two. And I can honestly tell you, I'm not motivated to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. Trust me, I too have that little voice, on my shoulder telling me, oh, just sleep another 5 minutes, sleep another 10 minutes, and so forth. But the thing is, that's where discipline comes in, right? There's a very, very big difference between being disciplined and being motivated. Right. So that's the most important thing. Okay. So if you're disciplined, you don't have time, right, to even listen to that little voice, and for that voice to actually, potentially when you're over, meaning I'm going to sleep later, I'm going to stay in bed. I'm not going to go to the gym, etc. Like that. When you're disciplined, you get up, you do whatever is needed, right? And with discipline comes consistency. Okay, if you're disciplined to take your business or your personal life to the next level, that automatically creates the consistency that you need, right? And now without the consistency, you're not going to be able to move forward, right? So um, you have to be disciplined in order to become better, or be better today than what you were yesterday, for example.
Well, I'll tell you, I believe in this also, that I don't want to get out of bed at 4 in the morning. I have gotten out of bed at 4 in the morning a lot of times in the past,
Right.
Through some of my previous businesses. And I found out that after getting out of bed at 4 in the morning, had the alarm going off for about a week, all of a sudden you wake up at 4 before the alarm goes off. It's no big
Right.
deal. It
Yeah.
sounds really rough and tough from a distance, but it's not a big deal once you get kind of used to it. But to
Correct.
get up at 4 a.m. and to go work out in the gym or do your work for 2 hours or however, you got to have some motivation. You
Right.
got to have some real reasons why you want to do this.
Correct.
And so I'm a big believer that most people never do sit down long enough without any interruptions to really think about what are their whys.
Right. Absolutely.
Why do they want to work so hard? What are their goals? I'm a goal kind of a person. Goals and why are
Right.
synonyms to me. But for you personally, what's some of your whys?
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, my biggest why is it's really simple, right? So I know you and I touched on it the other day, and it's literally about we all pass away one day, okay? But for me, it's about leaving a legacy, and I'm wanting people to remember me as a person that had an incredible impact in the community, in people's lives, right? Whatever that is, it could literally be as simple as just putting a smile on someone's face, right? If I could do something like that, I know I'm succeeding, and I know I'm heading in the right direction, as that's honestly all I care about, right? So that's my why, just behind everything. And I mean, personally, my wife and I wanting to start a family as well. I do have a goal in mind, and what that is I've even told my wife this already, that under no circumstance will she or I ever mention this word to our children. They need to come up with this word, and they truly need to understand what this specific word means, right? And if they can say this to me one day, I know that I've done well. Okay. And for me, that is for my children, my son or a daughter, to come up to me one day and tell me, Dad, you're my role model. For me, that is everything. If my children can say that to me one day, I know I've done a good job in raising them correctly, and but not just that, is by truly just leading by example. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, actions do speak louder than words, and I would want for them to be able to see that.
Well, it's a big why. I sure
Yeah.
appreciate that. No doubt about that. I just encourage everybody who's listening today to this recording to take the time to sit down on a rock with your mobile phones turned off, and just start thinking about what are some of the things you want to try to accomplish in life. Being told you're my role model and making a difference in somebody's life is a big why. If it's a financial why, that's okay too.
Yep.
If it's but always try to narrow it down to more than just I want to make money.
Right.
Narrow it down to I want to own a nice home for my family, or I want to get a better car that's safe for my family, or I want to take my family on a vacation. Not just a vacation, but drill it down to where you want to go, when you want to go,
Right.
and what it's going to take to make that happen. Right. I can assure you that if you get up in the morning and you want to go to San Diego, California, you best have some kind of plan of how you're going to get there versus just saying, I'm going to San Diego. You got to get in the car, you've got to call Uber, you got to go to the airport, or you got to go to the train station, or you got to get on a highway, start hitchhiking. You got to have some kind of plan how to get there. Absolutely. If you're going to go in a car, you better have a roadmap. You can go. We always use Google Maps now all the time, but in the past we had paper maps in the back seat of the car, telling you what highway to go to and where to turn here and where to turn there. And so, but you got to have a roadmap how to get there. You got to know when to leave,
right?
And have a time established and so forth. And you got to know exactly where you're going. San Diego is a big place to go to. You just go to San Diego, you're going to be overwhelmed when you get there because there's a lot of places to land when you get to San Diego. So having those goals, specific goals that get you excited, really create your whys, is really important to do with things like what Lynton does, having a discipline to get up at 4 a.m. to work hard, having the consistency to maintain that level of effort. Well, I really respect you a lot, Lynton, for the things you do and the way you do things, and the way you carry on, and your whys are very noble whys.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd like to ask you this question now, tied into more of a business wrap up of this conversation.
Yeah.
You're in the mortgage business. The mortgage business has not been our favorite topic for the last 6 to 12 months with the spike in interest rates that really affected the real estate market. Also taking a lot of home buyers out of the market. What's some of your thoughts about the near-term future of the mortgage industry, Lynton? And what are your experts you work with and your mentors predict will be happening with rates during the next, let's say during the rest of 2023?
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely a very good question. So I mean everyone knows we've been in a tough market, the last couple of months. I'll probably say a little bit over a year right now, and yes, interest rates have gone up. So I mean everyone's really just trying to see like what's going to happen within the next couple of months. So there's a lot of talk about, yes, there's an election coming up next year too. Is that going to help rates to typically go down? There's definitely a high possibility that interest rates will go down, pretty significantly next year. I've always, felt like I'm a firm believer in that sense that parties kind of want to put both parties would like to put their best hands forward, right? And so if they could do a great job on the interest rates and convince the Feds to bring those down, I mean, yes, they're going to look like the hero at the end of the day, right? So, but no, I mean, in all seriousness, a couple of the leading professionals in the mortgage industry are predicting rates to come down slightly, before the summer. So, which is great. I mean, roughly today we're looking at about 6.25%, maybe 6.5% interest rates. But if things go according to plan, hopefully we'll be at the high fives, 6% flats come the summer this year. So there's definitely a lot of hope to look forward to. And there's the thing with the mortgage industry is companies really have tried to come up with ideas to really help the clients out, right? People looking to purchase homes. I mean, you've got your 3-to-1 buy down programs, you've got your 2-1 buy down programs, for example, where if you look at like a 2-1 buy down program for the first year, let's say hypothetically you qualify at 7%. For this first year, you would be paying a mortgage payment of 5%, right? That's what that 2 means. So you just subtract that from the note rate. And then a year later, you'll be paying 6%. And then the third year, you'll be back at 7%, right? So the important things with a program like that is you have to remember you have to qualify at that note rate. But one of the big positives to that is whatever that 2% buy down cost would be, that's a cost associated to the seller, right? So that's a big positive towards someone looking to purchase a home, right? So, I mean, yes, there definitely are options out there. The most important thing is borrowers always just need to do what's best for their financial needs, right? So, but that being said, once we have all the information we need as loan officers and loan experts out there, we would then take that information and just plan accordingly.
Okay, good information. I will say this, interest rates being now at 6.25, mid sixes, they were in the sevens, they may be in the fives in a few months, who knows? But those rates really aren't that high.
Right.
We're just comparing what they were 2 years ago when they were in the twos and the threes, which that was a lot of land. It was not the normal world we live in. First mortgage I got many years ago, first house I bought and built, rate was 7.75. It was a good deal at the time.
Yeah.
But always keep in mind, if you're thinking about buying a home, renting a home, the rate is 100%.
Correct.
Versus buying a home, currently it may be in the mid sixes, low sixes, and depending upon your details. So it's still a great time to buy a home. Great tax advantages, a lot of advantages of owning a home. Inventory is still low. Our market in the Colorado Springs and in many areas of the country is still real solid. Homes are still selling at list price, sometimes above list price if they're shown properly, staged properly, and priced properly. So owning a home is still a great deal versus renting. If you need some details about whether you can buy, what you can afford, and so forth, I encourage you to reach out to a professional, an expert like Lynton. Lynton, what is your best contact phone number?
Yeah, so best number would be my cell phone number. I mean, my cell phone is pretty much glued to me. It's a 719-213-1760. Again, that's 719-213-1760.
Lynton, I really appreciate you being with us today.
Of course.
Great information, talking about the whys and the discipline and effort and so forth. Those all tie into having a good life, having a good home for your family and so forth. I appreciate everybody joining us today. If you have any questions about real estate, want to know what your home is worth, if I can help you with your home buying or selling process, don't hesitate to reach out to me too. My number is down below, 719-502-7176. Have a great rest of the day. I appreciate all of you. And as I always say, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Thanks, Lynton. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much.